The Winter Tree by Georgina Lewis. Read by Jill Greenacre. Chapter 21. The Tree. We found her on the ground beneath the tower. By the wall she lay, where so long ago Perrin and I had found poor Jackie, like a broken toy against the snow, looking about her in bewilderment, whiter than white against the grey stone and the pale world. Her eyes moved and fell on Joseph's face. She turned her head towards him, and they looked at one another. And Joseph bent down, reached out and touched her cheek. I had the strange thought that in all the years we'd known him, Joseph, to my knowledge, had never once deliberately reached out and touched another human being except Hester. I thought of how he'd picked the child Hester up in his young arms and carried her upstairs on the night that she had arrived. Then again his arms about her here in the churchyard, how he had held her to his heart when she had fallen against him. But never before had either of them reached out and touched the other until now. And Joseph had put out his hand deliberately and touched her cheek. And then I remembered her words. We took her from the churchyard, Joseph and I. He scooped her up in his arms with a smattering of snow and carried her light form like a grey winter bird, cold and pale. The holly she had picked was still grasped tightly in her hand. One of the stiff, dark leaves had broken off and fallen between them, caught between her arm and Joseph's wrist, and made a scratch on both their skins, so that two small streaks of red met and ran across her arm. Hester, looking down, saw what had happened, and into her face came a look of extraordinary release. She smiled, a lovely smile, quite glorious. She raised her hand, letting it fall on the back of his neck. She lifted up her face to his, and pulling his head down, gently kissed his mouth. We brought her home and laid her in my mother's bed, Joseph and I. And all the while he carried her down the lane, their eyes never left each other's. I sent Lissy, poor startled Lissy, to Polly's with baby Elizabeth and Thomas for the vicar. The snow was falling again, thick and fast this time, and I sorely doubted they would get through in time. I washed her poor bruised body clean of mud and snow and covered her with blankets. And all the time it was as if I wasn't even there. Then suddenly those eyes of hers found mine, as if she'd just become aware of me, and my heart stood still at the colour of her face. She said quite calmly, with a kind of quiet delight, "I'm dying, Abby. You know that, don't you?" As if we were having an afternoon conversation by the fireside over a cup of tea. "Of course you're not, Hester," I said shakily. She sighed and said wearily, "Don't be silly," as if I were a nice but rather tedious child. After a little while, her eyelids closed, and I thought she had fallen asleep. I sat beside her on Mother's bed, on the old patchwork counterpane that had been Mother's wedding present from her own mother, with its once rich reds and greens and blues almost blended into one with years and years of laundering, and underneath which no doubt we'd all four of us been conceived. And it passed through my mind, in that strange, lengthy hour, unreal with pallid daylight from the snow, to wonder in what distant bed Hester had been conceived, and whether her mother had loved the man. For it seemed to me, having no experience of my own to draw upon, a deep, mysterious thing, this meeting of a man and woman in their bodies, a thing with a dark power of its own, to be used for good or ill. I looked at Hester's waxy face and at the gold ring upon her wedding finger, and knew she must have known it in all its secret mystery, for Elizabeth's existence was living proof of that. And I wondered if she liked it, and whether I would like it too, if ever it came to be that I should know it. I held her hand and sat there, still beside her, smoothing the rich hair away from her forehead and watching her face. Strangely enough, I felt no desire to cry, no sadness whatsoever. Something of a profound and serious reality was taking place, and I knew with a curious certainty that Joseph would not bring the doctor in time, and that Thomas would find the vicar out, and that I would be alone with Hester when it happened. And I was glad that I was with her and no one else about, not even Joseph, for I was well aware of what was happening. I had no doubt of it at all. After a while she opened her eyes and smiled at me, and in the strangest way, it was for a moment Mother lying there on the pillow and smiling at me with Hester's eyes. "You mustn't worry, Abby," she said softly. "You won't be upset, will you? Promise? You'll look after Elizabeth for me, won't you? You'll bring her up for me. Don't tell her about my parents. Just say I was your cousin and that we were very close." "Of course, darling," I said gently. It was such a joy when she was born, Abby. So real, just for a moment. I'd never known what it was like to feel a proper person, but I did then, just for a while. But it went away again soon afterwards. Everything else was just that awful strangeness all the time. But at least now I know why. Oh, Abby, I'm so glad Perrin told me. Can you see that? You must forgive him, promise me. "Perrin," I said. "Forgive Perrin?" "Yes," she said. "Uncle Garfield told him, of course. He made Perrin promise not to tell me, but he did. It upset me dreadfully at first. That's why I was sick. No, Abby, you mustn't mind. I'm glad he told me. Very, very glad. It explains everything. If only you could see how much it helps." She sighed a little and gave me a shaky smile. "No, you don't know about it, do you? I can see that. Perrin didn't tell you. Surely you've guessed by now." "Guessed?" I asked her blankly. "You love Joseph. I knew that long ago. What else is there to realise?" "Why," she said in a little rambling voice, "about my mother, of course, and how I came to be born. It explains everything. I've always felt as if there were a piece of me missing inside, as if I'd been made by accident, not properly as other people are." She sighed. "When I was younger, I used to wonder if perhaps I was the result of my mother being raped or something. She hated me so much, and I never knew why. Oh, Hester. I told you Perrin hated me. I was right, you see. He'd never have told me if he hadn't hated me. Don't worry, I'm quite used to it." She gave a little chuckle. "In a way, it makes me feel at home. He was killed in the war, of course. He left their family and went away to fight and never came back. I expect they were quite relieved." She turned her face towards the window. "Oh, Abby, look, it's snowing. What a lovely moment this is. Do you know, when I jumped off the tower just now, I thought how God probably wouldn't mind a bit that I did it, because he couldn't really have meant me to be born in the first place, could he? I must have been a sort of mistake. Perhaps the angels were looking the other way for a moment and forgot to concentrate, and I happened." "Hester," I said helplessly, "I don't know what you mean." "It's him I feel so sorry for," she went on softly. "He must have hated himself so much afterwards. My grandfather. My real one, of course. I don't mean the one in the churchyard. My father, Abby. I'm the result of what's called incest. Haven't you guessed that yet? My grandfather was my own father. I'm not properly made like other people are, with proper parents. I'm not a real person." I stared at her aghast, and years of clouds rolled over memory and swirled like snowflakes in my brain. I just kept staring at her wordlessly, and all that I could do for her was hold her hand. After a little while she seemed to go to sleep again. I crossed the room and stood by the window, looking out upon the wintry garden and the hill beyond, remembering. Her obsession with the grave, the reason she was steeped in sorrow and could never be free of it, her curious feeling that nothing in life was real. Low and murmurous came back the memories and beat like wings about my mind. I stared out of the window, seeing only the falling wall of snow. And I thought also, looking out, that every one of us has this odd heresy of life within us in hidden measure, but our love of self disguises it. But Hester had been born without her portion of self-love. David had tried to understand and had failed. Possibly only Joseph had ever understood, and Joseph had let her go. After a while she murmured, "Take care of Joseph's child for me." I looked at her for a moment, baffled, wondering if at this late hour I still had judged her wrong. Then she said, "No, Abby," very slowly and softly. "Don't worry, my solid Abby. Her father truly is David, but Elizabeth is Joseph's child." And the strangest smile played about her lips, a secret, mysterious smile, like a little pain. And then she said, "Oh, but I shall lie with him, Abby. I shall lie with him in the dark earth when I am dead." And a little while later, with her hand tight closed about the holly leaf, she died. Now in the late spring sunshine, I walk up the lane. Beneath the trees there are bluebells carpeting the ground. I turn into the deserted churchyard with my flowers, a few daffodils from the orchard to put on Mother's grave. Father likes me to do that for him. Hester lies beside her as she has done now for several years. The birds still nest above them both in every flurried spring. I stoop to arrange my flowers. After a while a shadow falls across the world. I look up, wondering, across the golden evening. He looks tired, older too, the lines of his face deeper etched than I remember. "Well, Abby," he says at last, "here you are." I struggle to stand. My mouth is dry. I can scarcely breathe. I am standing under a roofless sky and light breaks all around. "Are you well?" he asks. "Well enough," I mumble through stiff lips. "And the child?" A small breeze moves about us from the fields and stirs the grass by our feet. "Well too," I manage to reply. "It's been a long time, Joseph." "Not so long, Abby," he says slowly. "Nothing, really." Above us in the sky, rooks call at the evening, and the air is full of blossom. In the distance a dog barks, and the trees are heavy with windy noise. "Tell me about them," he says. "How's Garfield keeping?" I shrug. What is there to tell? Father's very doddery, sits by the fire most evenings, or else we get him to bed and read him Lizzie's letters. Her oldest boy is having violin lessons. Father dearly likes to hear about that. He smiles to himself. "No doubt of that. And Perrin?" "Keeping well. Comes to see us from time to time. The twins are fine lads now, tall and strong. Thomas..." I pause. "Oh, Joseph, why?" He shakes his head. "But all this time, Joseph, and all this time you've not been near us once, never once come to see Father."
"Oh, I've had my reasons."
"Reasons? What reason could you, of all people, have for staying away? It's sorely grieved, Father, though he never mentions it, not now. After Hester died, he dearly wanted to see you, to talk to you, but you never came."
"No."
"You could have come to see him, Joseph. It wouldn't have hurt you, not just once."
"There's nothing I could have said to Garfield. 'Twas better not."
He pauses, his eyes on distant fields, and then relents.
"There are questions he would have asked me, Abby. Questions I couldn't have answered. Better this way."
In spite of all my vigilance, a tear creeps down my cheek. He says nothing, but puts up a hand and gently wipes away my tear. It is this tenderness that breaks my heart. The silence I can bear.
"What is it?" he asks me.
"Don't you cry. 'Twas all over, all the pain and trouble many years ago. Don't you grieve." "But it's you," I cry brokenly. "You, Joseph. You have nothing, nothing at all. No family, no children, nothing but lonely, empty years." And Joseph looks at me across the level light, my lovely Joseph, and he says to me,
"No family, Abby? But don't you know who I am?"
"You?" I asked him blankly. "You? Why, Joseph, who else could you be?" He gives a smile, a little shaky smile, as if his thoughts go far, far back into a past that I know nothing of, years and years before I was even born. And when he speaks, it is as if his words are practiced, long anticipated. "I'm Garfield's son, Abby. He's my father,
Don't ever tell him. It would break his heart to know it now, after all that's happened. 'Twas a quick love affair one summer, when Garfield and my mother were very young. I've always known the truth of it. My mother married shortly afterwards, and Garfield never guessed. He sighs. And knowing too about Hester's parents being as they were, how could I have married her? I couldn't have done that, Abby. It wouldn't have been right. The small breeze swings about us from the fields and then is gone. A million years rise up and die and lie like shards about my feet. No, I say to him. No, I see that you couldn't. As for family, he says, soft as the summer wind, I've had a family all my life, though they knew nothing of it. I've had their kindness and their trust. I've had my work and memories, one or two. And I've had a sister of my own, straight and strong, true as a tree. A precious sister you've been to me, Abby, and I've loved you dearly for it all these many years. Love is a very strange thing. It don't seem to matter how it comes to you, or what the rightness of it. The power of it is there all the same, coming to you through the dark. I felt it in the wind at night, and in the daytime too, in between birdsong and thunder, under winter. You've been sending it to me all my life almost, and it's held me, in the troubled times, like the fierce loving beat of angel wings. Then for a long time he says nothing more, and the little breeze that had crept about us 15 minutes earlier, before the world was old, moves around us with a sigh. He looks at me across the arch of evening, and the rich warmth of his smile falls full upon me. And then he softly says, "For the wood is life to the leaf, Abby, but the soul of the tree is the sun."